Our next guest, we are very glad to have her on. She's been on the show a lot. She's a favorite. And actually, her culture is next week, because we told people we're going to be in Ireland, broadcasting from Ireland next week. Local pub down there, and we're going to be appropriating Irish culture. And McElhinney, gosnellbook.com. Everyone should go out and check it out. It is doing incredibly well, despite the New York Times trying to act as though it doesn't exist. And McElhinney, thank you for being with us.
It's very good to be here. Thank you so much.
Well, we're looking forward.
Stephen, I cannot believe you're going to Ireland and you didn't invite me. Oh my God, I want to know about the pub. I want to know where you're going. I'm going to send people down to say hi and all of that.
Honestly, I would never go anywhere else in Europe at this point. Very few places, but Ireland doesn't play that game. Ireland does not do the we're welcoming in all the migrants and the rape. We're fine with it. Doesn't happen in Ireland. So I feel pretty safe. Well, maybe a little bit of it, but.
Don't feel too safe in Ireland, by the way. Just don't feel too safe in Ireland. You'd be surprised at some of the ideas that they have there. So just
comforting.
Yeah.
Well,
it is comforting. It is comforting.
The problem is we're going to dress up Jared in the most offensive stereotype possible to see how quickly he gets his ass kicked.
Fabulous.
Okay, so Anne, you're obviously we've talked about the Gosnell book. People need to go out, read this. We were talking about BuzzFeed and their just crazy abortion propaganda. But let's go to a lighter note here. What you mentioned, you just said you had two fabulous Trump derangement syndrome stories.
I have two, yeah, so
okay.
Unbelievable. So the first one is, so as you can see with the light here, I'm living now in Southern California. I'm living in the Hollywood Hills with all the people who live in the Hollywood Hills.
Yeah.
And I thought, when I moved to Southern California, I'm an Irish girl. I thought, I should try and soak up a little bit of this culture of these strange people who live in Southern California.
Yeah.
So someone offered a meditation class in the neighborhood. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to go to the meditation class. I go to the meditation class, very nice. Everyone was very nice. I was the favorite in the class. Everyone liked me because I'm Irish.
Everyone likes you. I can't think of anyone who doesn't like you until they hear about your ideas.
Behave. So they're all there, and I'm thinking if they only really knew who I was, they really mightn't like me so much, but they're always saying how much they like me. And they did a meditation, and one day we did one meditation. It was like, I want you to breathe in all the negativity, breathe in all the negativity, and then push love into it. And so they did that, right? For 5 minutes, I was having a ball. I was pulling in that negativity. I was pushing out that love. And then they went around the room. How did you get on? How did you get on? And I'm there in my lovely meditative state, feeling very zen. And the first person said, well, that was really good for me, because I was breathing in all the hatefulness, all the anger and the hatefulness from the Trump supporters, and I was pushing love into it. And I'm sitting there going,
you should say that.
And then they came to the next.
Did you push her down?
And the next person said the same thing, and they all started saying, oh my God, that's exactly what I did. I was feeling the same thing. I was pushing love into those hateful Trump supporters. And by the way, I was thinking in my head of those hateful Trump supporters that I love.
Yeah.
Those people that I love, people who are evangelical Christians and gorgeous people. Anyway, so that was my first story. My second story.
Well, hold on a second. Really, next time if that happens, so here, I bet you can bait that situation into happening again, because it's not all too uncommon. I know in yoga that, breathe this in, push this down. So when they say I was pushing down the Trump haters, what I want you to do is walk right up to them and just start pushing that person down physically. Oh, wow, it's so, we think alike. It's a metaphor. Yeah.
Anyway, I decided, you know what, I don't want to fight in every context that I'm in, so I never pretended who I was. And I stopped going to the meditation class. Okay. My next story is from this weekend, because now that I live in the Hollywood Hills, I get invited to posh dinner parties, and I got invited to a very nice posh dinner party.
Well, careful, because then a gay guy wants your husband to take his keys, so be careful.
One of the people at the dinner party was a very, and I don't want to identify this guy, just you'll understand why. Anyway, okay. A very famous doctor. Let's just put it that way. A great man who does wonderful healing, and a great person.
Do I know him?
Person. You wouldn't know him, but people in your community might know him. Doctors might recognize who he was. So I don't want to say.
Okay.
All his life, he told me, we are a very nice guy. All his life, he has voted Democrat. All of his life, until this election, where he voted for Trump, because he couldn't vote for her because of Israel. This guy is Jewish.
Okay.
So great. We're having a dinner party. He said, you know what, really amazing. I was saying to him, yeah, but it's amazing, the Trump derangement syndrome. He said, I've got a story for you. He just spoke recently at a conference in a foreign country. I won't even identify the country because I'm very conscious of not identifying this man. And so at the conference, he met an American colleague. In the midst of the conversation, he told the colleague that he had voted for Trump. So later on, they're in this beautiful hotel in a very posh place, whatever. And he comes down to the bar and sees a huddle of people, including this American man, and they're pointing at him. They're pointing at this eminent doctor, this healer, this amazing guy who's saving lives every day.
Right.
They point at him, and he's pointing, and the man who's pointing is the American, surrounded by French people. And guess what they did?
They raped him.
They spat on the ground. They spat on the ground. These are
I was close. It's figurative.
Eminent doctors, healers, and this is how they react to Trump. Madness. It's all over the place. It's hilarious. We have a neighbor here, so we're driving around the neighborhood. All of the poshest houses, the most expensive houses, had the Bernie signs on them. The next ones down had the Hillary Clinton signs.
Yeah.
My husband wanted to put a Trump sign up, but I said no. That's who I am, Stephen, because I didn't want the house to be burnt down. But anyway, we're driving around, and it's very dangerous driving around here, and we nearly had a car accident. What do we see in a house around the corner? A big Trump sign. And I'm thinking, what? But Phil and I both said, we've got to call over and see that guy. We have got to go and visit that guy.
Yeah, careful, he probably has a gun.
Next day we go by, the Trump sign's gone. And then we go by later, and the Trump sign is up, and he's got it all secured with really secure wire, and it's like really impossible to remove. So Balaam calls up to the guy's house, knocks on the door. Long story anyway, but they had a gate and whatever, and they were scared. The daughter of the house came out and said, "Is this a trap?" Anyway, we've become a big friend of that guy, and he is a Trump supporter, and he is up here, and, we have to huddle together because it's a hostile environment.
Yeah,
we're in a hostile environment here.
It is a hostile environment out there, and you're in a land of crazy people. And you still do have to be careful approaching some of the Trump side. They probably have a gun, and there's a more likelihood that you are blown away. I mean, listen, I wouldn't blame him if you're on his lawn. He hears someone with a funny accent saying, I support Trump. There's no Trump where you come from. I know you're kind. You people, you're the white people who actually do commit terrorism, Irish.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Well, let's no.
Okay, well, it's never too soon. It's never too soon.
Go out there and zipper, find a migrant raper.
Gosh, the French. Well, we can just talk in generalities here about we have never gotten more flack than our stance on climate change, and I've been very reasonable. I'm not saying there isn't climate change. I'm not saying that humans aren't even contributing to it. The question is it catastrophic? Is it imminent? And is there anything we can do about it? Okay, the closest thing that people are saying they can do about it, well, I was there at the summit before. It was a Kyoto Protocol. Now it's the Paris Accord. There's no proof that it would do anything at all, and the United States would be disproportionately bent over and paying for it. If I say that, and you say that, we make the economic argument. We make the argument, listen, this is actually going to hurt a lot of people, put people out of work in the first world country, and kill people who need energy to survive and they can't afford it in the third world country. On a scale from 1 to 10, obviously you did not evil, just wrong. People need to go watch it. How bad is this deal?
It's crazy bad. Like the good example to really point out to people. So who's really compliant here? Who's bending over backwards here to go with these accords, with these kind of measures? The Germans. And here's what we need to know about the Germans.
They're bad.
The Germans are using 40%. 40% of their energy is produced by coal. 40%.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that they've got rid of their nuclear, and because of the fact that wind and solar are so unreliable. So 40% of their energy is being produced by coal. And their emissions, these awful CO2 emissions that we're meant to be all so terrified about, have gone up by 50% in Germany.
Yep.
The price of electricity in Germany, so the price of electricity in 2012 here in the United States per unit was about 12 cents. It was about 12 cents here in the United States. In Germany, I think the latest numbers, 35 cents. Yeah. 35 cents. As you say, that is going to disproportionately affect the poor. But here's the kicker. Here's the big kicker. Where we, here in America, where we are not complying with any of this nonsense, guess what's happening to our evil emissions? Down, 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 down,
right.
Down, 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 down. Do you like that movement? Down,
I like
down,
that
down,
down.
And that
it looks
down,
like an
down,
early
down
boy band.
Is caused by
or
fracking.
Hitler's symbol for the Jews.
And that's caused by fracking. Because of fracking, the CO2 emissions have just plummeted here in the United States. Fracking is a miracle. It's a fracking miracle there, Stephen.
Well, and hold on a second. Because you're also not even taking into account how fewer emissions there are when we're not dependent on foreign resources for energy, where they don't have an EPA. They don't care about it. Here's what's so crazy, and this is what I love about. If I could have Ann McElhinney on every single day, I would. But here's the thing. We were talking about this yesterday. We have Sven Computer as our intern from Germany, and he talked about, they actually have to sell their energy off at a negative price rate. Everything that you just said, we talked about yesterday, and that's
sorry,
about the
I'm sorry.
No. But here's the thing. Most people haven't heard of it. And they're like, well, why haven't I heard of it? It's because they're just not having the conversations, and I hope that's the value of the show for a lot of people. You and I have these conversations
all the
off
time.
air.
And you know what else, Stephen? The other factor in this is that if America could, continued in that Paris Accord or whatever, if they continued in that vein with all those agreements, right?
Yeah.
The Americans would comply because we're law abiding. The Chinese, I saw a headline, the Chinese, no matter what.
We'll get right on that.
The Chinese lied about SARS. They lied about SARS and let their own population die.
And it made it to Toronto. It made it to Toronto.
That's who they are.
Yeah, and that's who the Canadians are. We had SARS in Toronto, at the Toronto airport. It didn't make it to the States because we didn't fall for it. But Canadians, they're so tolerant of everything, including SARS. They tolerated SARS.
Yeah. I mean, the idea that people that were, agreed to this accord, the idea that they should all be treated equally, that they should all be treated the same, that they're all going to comply. It's like seriously, that the Chinese, that anyone would trust anything that the Chinese would sign. I've been in China. I've been in Beijing, where you can't see your own hand because of the fact that there's so much smog in the air. The idea that these people would be lecturing anyone on complying with anything, it's just nonsense. These are liars.
Yeah.
These are bad.
Okay,
These are bad hombres, Stephen. Bad hombres.
Not all the Chinese, but most of them is what I believe he's trying to say. Gosnell
I'm saying the government.
Yes.
And yes, Gosnell Book. Gosnellbook.com. Go to Gosnellbook.com. It's really interesting. So the New York Times, we love the New York Times. Willie Parker, Dr. Willie Parker.
Okay, but we do have to wrap, so go with this.
The Christian abortion doctor, mark you, Stephen, Christian abortion doctor. If that isn't an oxymoron, I don't know the definition of an oxymoron. But the New York Times could not love him more. They have done profiles of him. Our book was a bestseller. It sold out everywhere in 24 hours. And guess who didn't review the book? Guess who didn't review the book? And guess who left it off where it should have been on the New York Times? We did eventually get on the New York Times bestseller list, but not where we should have been. Lots of people are reading it. And by the way, the one thing I would say as well is I did an audio version of the book, Stephen, and a lot of people are buying that for people maybe traveling in their car.
I really hope Phil didn't narrate that.
I hope your husband...
What did he say?
He said he hopes Phil didn't narrate that.
No, I know. You always are very abusive about it.
Then it happened down in the basement, and I tell you what, it was a horrific
I
sight.
understand him perfectly. I do.
It's like Brad Pitt from Snatch. Okay, we do have to go. Anne McElhinney and her husband, Phil McElhinney, they both work together, do great stuff. Gosnellbook.com. Please go read it. We have to go and wrap the show up on a nice ribbon. Oh, there it is.